Number 10, piecewise function. So these are fantastic. So you'll notice I got 3 pieces here, and these are kind of nice. This is just a 3, so this means a flat line at 3. This is just an x minus 2. Okay, so that's I start at -2, and then I have a slope of 1. Then this guy is just a flat line at 2. Okay, so flat line at 3, a little line here, and then I've got a flat line at 2. Now I'm going from -2, -1 is a flat line at 3. Okay, now I'm paying very close attention to the arrows. There's a lot of points inside here. Okay, so I've got 1 equation, 2 equation, and 3. Okay, so what I would do is use a pencil and maybe just kind of put a dotted line at -1 because that's where your first break is, and then you're going to have another one at 0, so then you'd have another break. So you got to be really careful with this. This is going to look a little strange, but -2 to -1 is just a 3. So we're going to go to +3. Okay, we're going to put a line. Now let's see. I do equal 3 at -2, so I will put a solid dot, but I will not equal 3 at -1. I'm going to go up to it. So this guy will be an open circle. Okay. Now from -1 to 0, this little piece right here, I have x minus 2. So what I'm going to do with a pencil is I'm just going to go to -2, okay, and then I'm going to go up 1 over 1, and it would look like this if I drew it all the way through. Okay, but if I do draw it all the way through, make sure that you erase everything you draw except the piece that goes from -1 to 0, and that would be this piece right here. Okay. Now I'm allowed to equal -1 here, and I'm not allowed to equal 0, so I will have an open circle there. Then it looks like it flat lines at 2, so I'm going to go back up to here, and I go from 0 to 4. So from 0 to 4. Okay. Now I am allowed to include 0, so I will put a filled in circle there. But when I get to 4, I'm not allowed to be at 2, so I will put an open circle there. Alright, those are my 3 pieces. It's weird, but that's exactly what this is telling me to graph. Okay? Alright, next one. Which of the following sequences are arithmetic? So for this one, I'm going to grab my calculator. Alright. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just make sure that these guys are all going up by the same amount. So this guy's going up by 10, by 10, by 10, and every single one of them has to be the same amount. This guy's going up by a plus 10, so A for sure is the answer. This guy's going down by 4. Down by 4 is 1 minus 4, -3. Okay, yep. Okay, so this guy's good as well. Alright, it looks like we're going up by 0.1 every single time. Yeah, every single time. That's a good one. Now we're going from 1, 2, 4, 8. This guy's going up by 1, then up by 2, then up by 4. This guy's a different kind of sequence. He's actually a geometric sequence because he's getting multiplied as he goes. So that guy's a no-go. Alright, because we are only looking for arithmetic. That's going to show up later in the test. Alright, now in the theater there are 12 chairs in the first row. Okay, so already I know that my A sub 1 is 12. Each row has 2 more chairs. Okay, so as I move up, I go up by 2. And there are 10 rows. So how many chairs are there in the theater? Okay, if there are 10 rows, that means my N is 10. So if I want to know how many there are in the theater, okay, what is the total? Well, what I need though is, believe it or not, my S of N formula. If I want the sum, I actually need to know how many rows there are, where I started out at, and how many is in the last row. Okay, so that I don't know. I don't know how many chairs there are in the 10th row. So what I need is, I need an A sub 10. So let's start with the first one. I go up by 2. Okay, I'm going to figure out how many chairs are in the 10th row, so I can use this formula right here, because this formula adds them up for me. Okay? Okay, so now let's figure out what that is. That's 2 times 9, 18, so it looks like there's 30. Okay, there are 30 chairs in the last row. So now to add them all up, I've got a 10, I start with 12, I go to 30. My formula tells me to divide by 2. Now I do know that 2 and 10, I can actually abbreviate that. That'll go in there 5 times. So that's going to be 42. So the total sum is 5 times 42. 42 times 5 is 210. So 210 chairs in that theater. All right. Okay, so that is 10 through 12. Let's see. Well, you know what? This is kind of shorter. Let me start with this guy. Do a couple more here. All right. Each table represents a relationship. Okay, a relation. What you need to do is determine the domain and range. All right. Now this is a piece of cake. When you're given a table, it's not like given a graph. Okay. Given a graph, you know that there's all the values in between. But in a table, there's no in between this. Okay? You go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. There's no in between. So your domain would look like this. It is the list of numbers. So negative 5 is my x value. Looks like negative 4, but I only list them once. Okay? Then I have negative 3 and 6. That is my domain. Notice that they're listed. And I put a capital D to say that it is the domain. Okay. Now for the range would just be the list of my y values. That's all. So it looks like I got a negative 2. I've got them twice, so I only list them once. Then I got a 2. Then I got a negative 6 and a negative 3. So that is my domain and range. Okay. Now if I'm given points, it doesn't matter. It's just that I don't have them. Basically, these and these are kind of the same way. It's just these guys are done vertically. These guys are done next to each other. So I can just do it like this. My domain is negative 7, negative 4, negative 1, 1, and 3. I don't have a continuous interval. I've got a point to point to point to point. Okay? All I did there was list all of my x coordinates. So if I want the range, I would list my y coordinates. And just don't list the doubles. So here's 1. There's negative 4. They don't even have to be in order. It helps to be in order, though. But just know that they don't have to be. Okay, oh, you know what? I kind of skipped around. Shoot. Negative 2, is that right? 1, negative 4, 3, negative 3, and then negative 2. Okay, they're out of order. You really should put them in order, actually. It's not like it's wrong, it's just that you should. All right? Okay, I'm going to stop this one here.